The Simps Awakening. You're pathetic. You bankrupted us, and you still have the nerve to show your face. Sierra Vance's palm cracked against my cheek, the sting sharp and hot. Those were the first words out of her mouth after I'd sacrificed everything for her family, only to end up broke. In my past life, I spent 10 years as their pack mule, serving Sierra and her parents day and night. In the end, they framed me as their fall guy, leaving me to die of a hacking cough in a cold, damp prison cell. It was only in those final moments that I realized the truth. I wasn't her backup plan or her knight in shining armor. I was just a piece of trash they used until the bag was full, then tossed into the incinerator. But now I was back, reborn into my freshman year of college, right when she first started reeling me in. I looked down at my phone. A text from Sierra had just popped up. "Hey babe, the new iPhone 18 is so gorgeous. I am obsessed." I smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "Sierra, in this life, I'm the one holding the controller. Everything you and your family owe me. You're going to pay it back on your knees." Ethan, the iPhone 18 just dropped. All the girls in my sorority have one except me. My phone vibrated again with another notification. I bolted upright in my dorm bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. Sweat soaked through my t-shirt. I looked around. This was my old room. An NBA poster was still tacked to the wall, and my roommate, Marcus Big Mac Thompson, was hunched over his desk, slamming his keyboard while wearing his gaming headset. Everything was so real, yet so surreal. Wasn't I dead? I remembered the dark, moldy corner of that cell. I remembered the final lung-bursting cough as the pneumonia took me. Right before I died, I'd overheard the guards gossiping. Sierra Vance, the woman I'd spent a decade providing for, was in the Maldives with her new husband, a real trust fund billionaire, enjoying the sun and the surf. 10 years. Starting from freshman year, I'd become her most loyal simp, a walking ATM for her entire family. When she wanted designer bags, I worked 3 jobs to buy them. Where her brother wanted a high-end gaming rig, I ate ramen for 2 months to pay for it. When her parents said their business was struggling, I handed over every cent of my college fund. I thought my devotion would melt her heart. I thought we'd get married after graduation. Instead, I built her father's contracting company into a powerhouse, only for them to conspire against me. They framed me for corporate embezzlement and commercial fraud, sending me away for 15 years. They liquidated the assets, rebranded themselves as high society, and stepped over my broken body like it was a stain on the sidewalk. A venomous hatred surged through me, a cold fire burning in my marrow. I would never forget the taste of that betrayal. Bzz. My phone vibrated again. "Sierra, why aren't you replying? Are you mad?" "I don't have to have it. I'm just feeling a little left out. Ha." Followed by a crying face emoji. What a perfect little White Lotus act. In my past life, this message would have sent me into a panic. I would have withdrawn my tuition money, bought her the phone, and then scrambled to apply for emergency student loans. But now, I looked at the screen and let out a jagged, silent laugh until tears actually pricked my eyes. Karma was real. Fate had dropped me back at the starting line. "Sierra, the Vance family. In this life, I'm done being your dog. I'm going to make you taste every ounce of misery you fed me, 100 times over." I took a deep breath, forced my hands to stop shaking, and typed back. "How could I be mad, princess? Give me a bit. I'll go get it for you right now. I'll make sure you're the first one in the house with a new model." The reply was nearly instantaneous. "OMG, Ethan, you're the best. I love you so much. Moo." 3 foot, I could practically see her smug, greedy face through the screen. Perfect. The game was just beginning. If she wanted to play a role, I'd be her co-star, but this time, I was writing the script. I hopped off the bed and tapped Marcus on the shoulder. "Big Mac, I need to borrow $2,000. It's an emergency." Marcus pulled off his headset, looking confused. "Ethan? Bro, didn't you just get your scholarship check? What happened to that $8 grand? I lied easily, my face a mask of calm. "Sent it to my parents. They got some medical bills piling up." Marcus didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone and Venmo'd me instantly. "You need more? I can hit up some of the guys." A genuine warmth touched my chest. I squeezed his shoulder. "This is enough. Thanks, man. I owe you one." In my past life, when the world turned its back on me, Marcus was the only one who ever visited me in prison, bringing what little he could afford. I wouldn't forget that loyalty. With the cash ready, I headed to a tech shop off campus. The iPhone 18 Pro Max retailed $4,200. I walked past the Apple display and headed to a different counter in the back of the store. "Hey," I said to the shop owner, a shrewd-looking guy, "I need one of those super clones. The one that looks exactly like the iPhone 18. The social execution the shop owner paused, then gave me a "we've all been there" smirk. "G'day, kid. This is the Shenzhen Deluxe Edition. Boot animation, OS skin, the weight, it's identical. Unless someone tears it down, they'll never know." "How much?" "For you? 800. I nodded and paid the cash. As I held the beautifully packaged counterfeit, a cold sneer played on my lips. "Sierra, you love status? You love showing off? Fine. Go ahead and flaunt this piece of junk to your sorority sisters." I could already see it. The moment she realizes she's holding a fake, the fall from grace will be spectacular. I dropped the phone off at the girls' dorm later that afternoon. Sierra was already waiting outside, her eyes lighting up like a fox catching sight of a rabbit. "Ethan, you actually got it." She lunged at me, wrapping her arm around mine and pressing close. Her voice was sickeningly sweet. Passing students cast envious glances our way. Sierra was the it girl of the business department. Her trail of admirers stretched across campus, and I was just the lucky scholarship kid from a modest background. Everyone thought I'd hit the lottery by dating her. Only I knew I was just the most obedient and well-funded simp in her collection. "Of course," I said, playing the doting boyfriend. I lightly tapped her nose. "When have I ever let you down?" Sierra couldn't wait. She tore open the box, her hands trembling as she saw the rose gold finish. "Oh my God, it's beautiful. Ethan, you're literally the best." She stood on her tiptoes and gave me a quick, superficial peck on the cheek. In my past life, that tiny kiss would have kept me high for a week. Now made my skin crawl. "Go on," I urged with a smile. "Go show the girls." "I will. Love you." She clutched the phone to her chest and ran back inside like a giddy child. The moment she was gone, my smile vanished. The air around me felt cold. "Sierra, enjoy your final moments of vanity. Very soon, you'll realize how much it hurts to fall from the clouds." I turned away, pulled out my own battered Android, and dialed a number I knew by heart. A tired, middle-aged man answered. "Hello. Is this Mr. Vance?" "It's Ethan Miller, Sierra's classmate." It was Arthur Vance, Sierra's father. On the surface, he was a self-made businessman. In reality, he was a predatory shark. In my last life, he called me son, while leading me to the slaughter. Ethan, what can I do for you?" His tone was dismissive, the voice of a man who thought he was talking to a servant. "Sir, I heard through the grapevine that Vance Contracting is handling that new lakefront resort project. I heard things might be a little tight financially." I asked, sounding concerned. I remembered this vividly. This was the exact window when Arthur's company hit a massive cash flow crisis because he'd over-leveraged himself. He was on the brink of bankruptcy. In my past life, I'd loaned him my parents' entire $20,000 life savings to keep him afloat. There was a long silence on the other end. "How did you hear that? Did Sierra say something?" "She mentioned she was worried about you." I lied perfectly. Digital age, I suppose. Arthur sighed, slipping into his humble businessman persona. "It's nothing, Ethan. Just a minor hiccup. I'll handle it." "Sir, please don't be a stranger," I said, my voice dripping with sincerity. "I actually have some capital set aside. Money my parents gave me to start a business. It's about 20,000. If you need it to bridge the gap, it's yours." I could hear his breathing hitch. $22,000. For a college kid, it was a fortune. For a man about to lose his company, it was a life raft. But he still had to play the part. I couldn't. That's your family's hard-earned money. I can't take that. "Mr. Vance, we're family. Or we will be. Your business is my business." I threw the bait. And Arthur Vance, the shark, didn't hesitate. He let out a warm, paternal chuckle. "You're a good kid, Ethan. A truly good kid. Sierra is lucky to have you. Tell you what, I'll take the loan just for a month. I'll pay you back in 30 days tops." I sneered at the phone. "Pay me back." In my last life, he never breathed a word about that money again. "Of course, sir. I'll bring the check by tomorrow." "Wonderful. Are you free for lunch tomorrow? Let me treat you." The fish was on the hook. The next morning, the campus social media feeds exploded. A post on the university's confessions page was trending, titled "Exposed Business Department Goddess Sierra Vance's New iPhone is a Fake." The post was brutal. It had photos of Sierra surrounded by girls, showing off her phone. But one high-res zoom shot showed the fine print at the bottom of the casing, designed by Superclone Labs. The OP was a tech nerd who did a full teardown of the laggy interface and the low-res camera. The comments were a bloodbath. "LOL, I saw her IG story yesterday, acting like a queen. Guess the queen is wearing cubic zirconia. If you're broke, just say that. Why buy a knockoff and act like it's real?" I heard her simp boyfriend bought it. Maybe he's the one who scammed her, or maybe they're both pathetic. I scrolled through the comments while eating my breakfast, feeling more refreshed than I had in years. Sierra lived for her goddess, image. This public execution hurt her more than a physical blow ever could. Predictably, my phone rang. Sierra was screaming before I could even say hello. "Ethan, what the hell did you give me? Did you do this on purpose?" I acted confused. "Sierra, what's wrong? What happened? Don't play dumb. Everyone is laughing at me. I'm a joke." Her voice cracked with tears. "You bought me a fake phone. Why would you do this to me?" "Fake?" I sounded horrified. "No way. I went to that boutique shop. I paid full price." "Sierra, I must have been scammed. I'm going back there right now to tear that place apart." My performance was Oscar-worthy. I could hear her sobbing, her anger wavering. She was vain, but she was also desperate for a solution. "Then, what do I do? Everyone's talking about me." "Baby, don't cry," I soothed. "This is on me. I didn't check it closely enough. I'll fix this. I'll buy you a real one today. We'll go to the Apple store together this afternoon." I played the role of the guilty, overeager boyfriend perfectly. Sierra's tones softened immediately. She realized that getting a real $1,200 phone out of this was better than just being mad. "Ethan, I know you didn't mean to." She sniffled. "When can we go?" "This afternoon. I just have to handle something for my uncle first. I have to drop off some funds for his business." I framed the loan to her father as a favor for an older relative. Sierra immediately stopped complaining. She knew her lifestyle depended on how much cash I had on hand. "Okay, go do that. Business first," she said, suddenly obedient. I hung up. "Sierra, you have no idea. This money isn't for a phone. It's for the shovel I'm using to dig your family's grave." The contractual news site met Arthur Vance at a high-end steakhouse downtown. He looked revitalized, greeting me with a firm handshake and a beaming smile. "Ethan, seat. I've been looking forward to this." He poured me a glass of sparkling water, acting like I was his favorite son-in-law. "Sir, thank you." I placed a briefcase on the table. Inside was the $20,000 in cash. Arthur's eyes practically twinkled, though he made a show of pushing it back toward me. "Now, Ethan, are you sure about this?" "I insist, sir." I pushed it back. "If you don't take it, I'll be offended." After a bit more reluctance, Arthur tucked the briefcase under his chair, his grin widening. "I won't forget this, Ethan. You've got a bright future." As the meal progressed, Arthur began to brag. He talked about Vance contracting, his vision for the resort, and how he was going to be the biggest developer in the state. I listened intently, nodding like an admiring student. Finally, I steered the conversation. "Sir, how's the payment schedule for the resort project? Is the client being reasonable?" Arthur sighed into his wine. "Strict. They won't release the final payout until the whole thing passes inspection. The materials, the labor, I'm fronting everything. It's a massive strain." Exactly what I wanted to hear. I looked concerned. "That sounds risky. What if the client delays the inspection? If your cash flow stalls for even a few months?" Arthur's face paled slightly. I'd hit the nerve. That was exactly how he went under in my past life. The client stalled him to death. "Yeah, it's a concern," he admitted. I paused, then pulled a folder from my bag. "Sir, I have a proposal. I'm a finance and law double major, and I've been looking into bridge financing models. I drafted a guaranteed early payment agreement for you. Take a look." I handed him the document. I'd spent a fortune on a high-end lawyer of the day before to ensure every word was a trap. The core of the agreement was hidden in legalese. If Arthur's company failed to repay the bridge loan, which I would provide via a shell company, within a strict window after project completion, the lender had the right to acquire the company and all personal assets for exactly $1. The window was 7 business days after the project completion date. I knew for a fact the client would delay the official inspection by months. "The idea is," I explained, "you find a reputable guaranteed funding firm. They pay you 70% of the project's value up front. You get your liquidity, finish the job, and pay them back with interest once the client pays you." Arthur's eyes lit up. 70% of a $5 million project was $3.5 million. It wouldn't just save him, it would make him rich. "Ethan, can you actually set this up?" "I know a manager at a private equity firm." I lied. "An old friend of my dad's. If your project specs are solid, they'll give you the lowest interest rate in the city. But they're old school. They require total asset collateral." Arthur hesitated at the word collateral, but the thought of $3 million blinded him. He figured the project was a sure thing. The collateral was just a formality. "Let's do it. Tell me what documents you need, and I'll have them ready by tonight." He clapped me on the shoulder, looking at me like I was a literal godsend. I smiled. "Arthur, you'll never know that the private equity firm is a shell company I registered using the rest of my savings. And that contract you're about to sign, it's your death warrant." The next 2 months were eerily calm. Arthur's company was flush with cash, and the resort project moved ahead of schedule. Sierra got her real iPhone 18, and she spent her days flaunting it and being the perfect girlfriend to me, thinking she'd successfully hooked a whale. Meanwhile, I was working in the shadows. I took the remaining loan money and Marcus's cash and played the stock market. Using my memories of the coming tech boom and a specific crypto surge, I turned my small pot of gold into a massive fortune. Then, I quietly bought up the debt of the client who owned the resort project. I was now one of the people who controlled when Arthur Vance got paid. The resort was finished. The inspection phase began. As expected, the client, now influenced by me, began finding every tiny fault. The paint color was off by a shade. The tiles weren't perfectly aligned. Arthur was confident at first. He sent crews to fix everything. But a week passed, then two, then a month. The inspection report remained unsigned. Vance Contracting's funds began to dry up again, and the bridge loan deadline was looming. Arthur called me, his voice trembling with panic. "Ethan, something's wrong. The client is being impossible. The loan is due next week. What do I do?" "Sir, let me talk to my friend at the firm. I'll see if I can get you an extension." I acted for a day, then gave him the crushing news. "Sir, I'm so sorry. They said it's company policy. If the funds aren't in by next Friday, they're going to initiate a legal takeover and liquidation." "Liquidation? Ethan will lose everything." "Sir, there's only one way," I said urgently. "You have to get that client, Mr. Sterling, to sign off. No matter what he wants, you get it to him." Desperate, Arthur Vance prepared for one last negotiation. He didn't know that Mr. Sterling was already on my payroll. The humiliation Arthur Vance stood outside the office of Reggie Sterling, the project head, clutching a briefcase with $10,000 in incentive cash. He looked 10 years older, his suit rumpled, his pride hanging by a thread. Sterling, a man known for being a cruel narcissist, let Arthur wait for 3 hours before calling him in. "Reggie, please," Arthur begged, pushing the briefcase across the desk. "The project is perfect. Just sign the damn report." Sterling didn't even look at the money. He leaned back in his leather chair, a malicious smirk on his face. "Arthur, the quality is trash. I can't put my name on that. We fixed everything you asked for." "Maybe," Sterling mused, "but my back is killing me today. Tell you what, Arthur, you want the signature? Get behind me and give me a massage. Really dig into those knots." Arthur's face turned a violent shade of purple. A CEO, a man of his standing, acting like a servant? It was a soul-crushing humiliation. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? Don't want to? Fine. Get out. We'll talk about the inspection next year. Next year, Arthur knew that in 1 week, he'd be homeless. He swallowed his pride, moved behind Sterling, and began to knead the man's shoulders with trembling hands. The office door was cracked open. Employees walked by, whispering and pointing at the once mighty Arthur Vance performing like a personal masseur. I watched it all through a hidden camera I'd had installed. There was no pity in my heart. "Arthur, you did the same to my parents, humiliated them while you bled them dry. This is just the appetizer." Arthur's humiliation didn't work. Sterling took the service, but still refused to sign. The Vance family was in a state of total collapse. Lydia Vance, Sierra's mother, was hysterical, wailing about losing their house. Leo, the spoiled younger brother, was terrified he wouldn't be able to buy his new designer sneakers. Only Sierra remained cold and calculating. She stood up, her eyes hard. "Dad, Mom, stop it. It's not over." She looked at her phone. She had Sterling's private number. "I'll go talk to Sterling. I'm a young woman. I can be persuasive." Arthur and Lydia knew exactly what that meant. They knew Sterling's reputation, but they didn't stop her. They let their daughter go to a hotel room to save their assets. Sierra dressed in her most provocative outfit and left. What happened that night was never spoken of, but the result was clear. The next morning, the inspection was signed. Sierra returned home looking hollow, her eyes dead. She called me, her voice filled with a strange, dark sense of triumph. "Ethan, it's done. We're safe." She expected me to praise her, to comfort her. I just gave her a flat "Oh." "Ethan, I sacrificed everything for this family." She whispered. "I'm sure you did," I said. "You're the best, Sierra." I hung up, feeling a surge of pure, cold joy. "Sierra, you think one night of sacrifice saves you? You just tightened a rope around your own neck." The final day arrived. Arthur went to the bank to get the payout, but he was met with a cold rejection. I had filed anonymous whistleblower reports regarding Vance Contracting's safety violations and fraud. His accounts were frozen. The deadline for the bridge loan hit zero. I walked into the Vance living room with a team of lawyers. Sierra opened the door, her face pale. "Ethan, why are you here with these people?" I didn't answer. I walked into the center of the room. Arthur and Lydia sat on the sofa, looking like ghosts. Mr. Vance, my lawyer said, placing a document on the coffee table. The loan is unpaid. According to Section 17, Clause 3 of your agreement, Zenith Capital is now exercising its right to acquire Vance Contracting and all personal assets, including this house and your vehicles, for the sum of $1. What? That's a scam. Lydia screamed. Ethan, tell them. This is your friend's company. I finally dropped the act. I looked at Sierra, then at her parents, and let out a cold, mocking laugh. I should introduce myself properly, I said, my voice echoing in the silent room. I am the founder and sole owner of Zenith Capital. It's my company, and I'm the one taking everything. The blood drained from Sierra's face. She stumbled back, looking at me as if I were a monster. You, how? Surprised? I leaned in close to her. You always wondered where a poor student got all that money. Every cent I spent on you was a brick in your family's tomb. Every nice thing I did was honey-coated poison. I turned to Arthur. 10 years ago, in a life you don't remember, you framed me. You took my parents' money and let me die in a cage. Well, Arthur, the bill has finally come due. This house is mine. The cars are mine. The company is mine. You have 24 hours to pack your bags and get out. The new dawn the next day, the Van Cess were evicted. Their bank cards were pieces of useless plastic. Their luxury SUVs were towed away. Vance Contracting was rebranded as Zenith Construction. I used my knowledge of the industry to purge the corruption and turn it into a legitimate powerhouse. As for the Van Cess, their descent was faster than their rise. Arthur Vance couldn't handle the shock. He suffered a massive stroke and ended up paralyzed in a state-run nursing home, smelling of cheap disinfectant and regret. Lydia Vance, the woman who once looked down on everyone, was forced to take a job cleaning hotel rooms, her hands chapped from bleach, her days spent scrubbing the toilets of people she used to consider beneath her. Leo dropped out of school and disappeared into the gig economy, working back-breaking shifts at a warehouse just to afford a room in a basement. I saw Sierra one last time. It was at a high-end lounge downtown where I was meeting business partners. She was wearing a cheap, sequin dress that didn't fit right. Her makeup caked on to hide the dark circles under her eyes. She was a hostess, pouring drinks for a group of drunk, middle-aged men. When she saw me, she froze. The men realized who I was. I'd been on the cover of Crane's Business recently. One of them, a sleazy guy named Miller, tried to impress me. Mr. Miller, what a coincidence. Hey, Sierra, come here. Pour the man a drink. Do your best work. He pushed her toward me. Sierra's hand shook so hard the glass clinked against the bottle. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a desperate, silent plea for mercy. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just a profound sense of boredom. Your taste in hostesses is as poor as ever, Reggie, I said to the man, never looking Sierra in the eye. I set my glass down and turned to my colleagues. Let's go. The air in here is a bit stale. I walked past her without a single word. That was the ultimate revenge. She didn't even qualify as an enemy anymore. She was just background noise. I didn't go home. I drove out to the quiet cemetery on the outskirts of the city. The night air was cool. I brought 2 bottles of the whiskey my father used to love. I sat by their headstone, the moonlight reflecting off the polished granite. Mom, Dad, I'm back. I poured 1 bottle over the earth in front of their graves. I got the money back. The people who hurt us, they'll never hurt anyone again. I hope you can finally rest. I sat there for hours, talking to them. I told them about the past life, the betrayal, the rebirth, and the peace I finally felt. As I finished the second bottle, the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon. I'm going to start something new now, I whispered. A foundation, to help people who were cheated like I was. I'm going to make the Miller name mean something good. I stood up, brushed the grass from my suit, and walked back to my car. The sun rose, brilliant and golden, flooding the world with light. The debts of my past life were settled in full. The road ahead was finally mine to walk. Story complete.